Welcome back to Youth Counsel, and my name's Chandra Vimala, and we are so fortunate to have Manisha back with us. And so we're going to do kind of a second part of what we did for the communication. We had amazing questions, and you had, especially on some responses, Manisha, we had influx of emails on one of your comments, but I'm going to initially just talk a little bit. Some people have maybe not seen the first communication that we had done on the episode. And also just kind of a reminder for everyone. So Manisha had talked about communication really being about effective listening. And that I know when you said that Swamiji had said that, really communication nowadays is not between two people, because they already have things in their head that they're already thinking what they're going to say, before that person's even opening, their mouth. And that they get kind of lost within what they're going to be saying. And so it's just really a one-sided. So it really is about listening. And you kind of talked about some different techniques of just being able to slow the mind down and be able to kind of have that silence. And some of it was journal writing and, just being able to do some diary, the Hamdra meditation, that was the humming. So 11 minutes or 21 minutes of being able to be quite quiet. So we really learned an amazing, it was just amazing for listening to you about the communication. So it was lots of responses. So thank you very much for coming back. And the biggest response we had, a lot of people were kind of upset and didn't kind of quite understand, is that, we talked about communication is really of what's happening in the world around you, where it's not really what people are saying, it's what your response is. And you said 99% whatever you're left with is kind of the result or the emotion. So it's not what's happening, but it is, again, the response to what's happening. You got a lot of emails around that. So, and it's true, from all my counseling, it's been probably, 99% of some of the questions is that, they made me feel that way. I've had kind of bullying in the school. My parents are constantly nagging me. I have no control over that. My girlfriend, she's always picking on me. I have kind of low self-esteem because, people are making comments about me. How can that be in my control? When you're saying that, that's not really it. So a huge influx, and thank you very much for your emails. But that's kind of what we would like to talk about today.
Sure. Nithyananda.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for calling me back once again to this wonderful show. It's really an honor to be here back with all of you, and I'm glad that people have started contemplating on what they've listened in the first talk and have written back comments. Thank you for writing back to us. So the first thing that we may want to consider with regards to this is really that each human being, where they are, each person where he or she is, has a certain set of happenings around him or her. Different people face different situations and different kinds of challenges in life where they are. But there's another interesting part to it also. If a same set of situation is given to probably 3 different people, they would respond differently to that. So let me take an example of, for example, bullying that you spoke about, or that I'm being shouted at by my friends, or I have regular fights with my parents. If you have the three different individuals having the same situation presented to them, you will see, surprisingly, the response is different from all the 3. And this actually brings a very important question. Why is that so? If there is a constant happening, if there's one particular thing that's happening in life, and it's the same thing happening to 3 different people, all 3 of them would react differently to the same thing. And that is because there are 2 worlds inside which we all exist. One is the world where things are actually happening, and there is another world where the things are occurring to us in a particular way. So in that way, I would say there is a world which is happening, and there is a world which is occurring. You have your occurring world, meaning whatever is happening inside of what occurs to you, you have a certain perception of what is happening, and you react to that perception that you have rather than to what is happening. So if there is a constant happening and 3 people are put in front of the same situation, for example, if there was a snake crawling into the room right now, and I have 3 people, one person may just say that, oh, in India especially, you have the tradition of worshipping snakes. They're considered to be Shiva's, which is the lord of destruction. Shiva's ornaments actually. So they would just stand up with reverence and say, oh, this is Shiva's representation walking into the room. And you may have another person who's so freaked out and they would just probably climb a chair or climb the nearest pillar. And there may be a third person who would just take a stick or a stone, or who'd look at, how do I just push this off the room now. So that's just an example. But if you look typically at any situation in life, for a particular given situation, different individuals respond differently. And that's because each of their occurring world shows them a different reality of what is happening. And therefore, we said that in the earlier talk as well, that really life is not about what is happening in front of you, but is more about how are you responding to what is happening in front of you.
So if they have that constant, and like I said, I've heard all the time of young people especially, well, not just young people, I mean people saying that they've made me kind of have that response. So again, I have no control. So if I'm having that mad or angry, even though, let's say, the snake, it's come, but that's kind of, it's made me do that, even if there's different responses. So how can I kind of control that?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question again. So we might want to look a little more deeply into why do things occur to different people in different ways? Or more specifically, why do I have this kind of an occurring world where I am? And that, if you really look deeply within, brings in a very profound thing called a belief. Human beings are nothing but a set of beliefs. You are a set of beliefs, a set pattern of what you believe to be the truth or what you believe not to be the truth. That said, a deeper thing than this is where Swamiji beautifully says, Drishti Srishtihi. Not only you are a set of beliefs and belief system inside you, you also create the world around you according to what you believe. And that's what he describes in this beautiful talk when once he spoke on Yoga Sutras, where he speaks about Drishti Srishtihi. Drishti is what you see and Srishti is what you create. So absolutely, literally, whatever you see and believe and have a belief on, or you believe, is what you start creating around you. And interestingly, in science, there is this theory called the participative wave theory or the double slit experiment, which also speaks on the same thing. Basically what happens in this experiment, they've done, they've kept a photon, they've taken a photon beam, and they've kept a slit, a thin metal slit, a sheet which has 2 holes drilled to it, and then they have a screen behind the metal detector, the metal sheet. And what they did is they just shot the photon beams onto the metal sheet which has the 2 holes. And what was found was really interesting. In the presence of a detector, when a detector was placed in the experiment, they noticed that the photon would actually go through the holes, which is expected behavior, right? If I have a ray of light and I have a sheet and I have a hole, what is your belief about that? You will expect the ray to just pass through the hole and then go to the other side. It behaves exactly that way. The photon ray beam actually passes through both the holes or the single hole they've drilled, and it actually goes on to the wall, to the wall that lies behind the sheet. And surprisingly, when they removed the detector, physically when the detector was removed from the experiment, the photon beam did not behave like a particle going through the hole. It completely surpassed the metal sheet and became a wave onto the wall. It directly fell onto the wall in the manner of a wave. It was no more a particle, meaning it was not like a ray of straight light. It just behaved like a wave. So you can see that the same situation occurs differently or alters its behavior differently in the presence of a detector and in the absence of a detector. This, if you look at a spiritual level, if you look at a metaphysical level, indicates that your belief creates whatever you have around you. And this, in other terms, is what our ancient scriptures have always termed as drishti srishti. Whatever you see, whatever you believe, that is what gets created, srishti, that's what gets created around you. So literally, if you look at your life, it translates to what is it that you believe deep within you. And if you look more closely at that, you will see that exactly that is what you see as a reflection around you. In situations, with people, in terms of what you attract in your friends, anything that you see around you is basically, it has, the seed is inside you. You have a belief about that within you.
That's kind of probably very similar to what Swamiji has been talking about in relation to rewiring the brain. That
Yes.
your molecules, like everything within yourself and cells, are living. And so if you've had kind of that negative reaction, you know, if somebody has been, you know, picking on you, say in school, and then you've had that constant beating yourself up or, you know, having that kind of negative response, your body has taken that in. And so you can reverse that by having more of a positive thought around that. And then it would be rewiring. Would that be how you feel?
Not completely about a positive thought, but I would say it's a little more like, as you said, if there were an unpleasant incident happening in your life, like you've had a bad day with friends and you've been probably abused or bullied by someone, usually the usual way you behave is, as you rightly said, you have a memory about that and you retain the emotion inside you. And this is what we call as engrams or samskaras in Sanskrit. It becomes a samskara in you, meaning the memory of that incident is retained inside you along with the emotion that it carries. So for example, when your friend abused you and you were probably crying and you had, you know, a deep sorrow within you, you not only carry the incident, the memory with you, but also the emotion remains inside you. And then no matter how positive you may want to think, it doesn't help because the root engram, which is the emotion and the memory itself, is there inside you. So the only way out of this is for you to be complete with that particular incident. For you to completely accept both the memory and the emotion associated with the memory. Right now, if you look at your life, you will see that that is something you do not want to have in your life again. So you are actually subtly resisting it. And whatever you resist in life persists. Swamiji beautifully says, if you're resisting it, it's just going to become more and more a part of you. The more you resist, the more it persists inside you. So really the secret is to, again as Swamiji quotes, relive it to relieve it. The incident has happened, you've been very unhappy with it, and all that you want to do now is just push it under the carpet. Stop that. Do not do that. The technique lies in reliving it in order to relieve it. And how can you do that? Just go back to the person. Give your mind there. Tell him or tell her that this is what I experienced. This is what I did not like about this. Express it completely out and let it not remain inside you as a suppression. Let it not remain inside you in a way that you want to completely forget it. Let it come up. And you go ahead and speak to the person. If you think you cannot do that, share it with someone else. That, you know, this is what was the impact. And I don't think I like it. I really want to get away from it, and that's the reason I'm sharing it with you. Or write it down in a book. That really works effectively if you can write down the incident as it happened and continuously read that to someone. Keep on reading it till you have not had any more emotion left in you. You know, till as you keep reading once, twice, thrice, even the fourth time, you may have that emotion coming up in you. Maybe the anger, maybe the sorrow, maybe, you know, whatever you experienced. But you will see after some more times of reading, it just leaves you. You kind of lose ownership over the incident. So it becomes just another story that you can relate to just as a mere memory and not like an engram or an emotional memory which keeps on having its grip on you.
And that's so true, because the current, counseling has a lot been around positive, like thinking, but it is really true that it actually it adds more struggle.
Exactly.
So
you actually said it, Chandra, because often we mistake that we have a mistaken myth. I would say it's really a myth that positive thinking or having a positive thought literally takes you to a new space, which is not the truth. Because as long as the base foundation is that negative emotion, is that unpleasant incident, on top of that, no matter how much you do, it wouldn't make that big a difference. It's just like you have a container which is totally contaminated. It's a spoilt vessel, and you're trying to put in rose water inside that. What do you think would happen? Eventually it has to get spoiled, and then what do? You change that water and you bring in some better water, a mineral water, and you put it into the same container. Probably another day it remains the way, and it may remain fresh or little better, but again, what happens? The quality of the container catches up with whatever you fill it with. So the root of removing it or transforming it is for you to change the vessel itself. Likewise, no matter how much positivity you have, no matter how many more positive thoughts you engage in, or no matter how many more positive attitude or action you may want to bring in, the base foundation, if it remains the engram, which is the unpleasant situation, the memory plus an emotion which you are resisting, anything that you bring in will not make a long-term effect on you. So the only way out is really to work at the root. Look at the incident as it is. Either go back and speak to the person and tell your heart out and completely be free of it, or speak it out to someone. Or a very effective technique is, again, write down the incident as it happened, and completely as you're writing it, experiencing it happening with you once again now, and then go ahead and share it with someone. And keep on reading it till you know that you have kind of disconnected with the emotion completely. The memory can still remain. The memory itself is not harmful, but the emotion that comes with the memory is the most dangerous thing.
That's great. And so what happens then when you have kind of patterns that you consistently, and so you've kind of, it goes over and over, you may have the same type of boss, you may have the same type of friends, and so you might break up with that friend, and then, you get the other friend, the new friend, and, it's okay at the beginning, but, you're back into the same situation.
Yeah.
And why do we have then patterns? If they've worked that through, but they continue to kind of do the same thing, why does that kind of occur?
It again, I think, partly relates back to the same thing as to what you believe. Often what happens in life is that when life is happening to us, we start making perceptions and beliefs which are so embedded in us deeply, I would say, because we've always usually run life with unawareness. We are not aware of either the thoughts or the actions that we do in life, and inside of that unconsciousness or that unawareness, whatever is happening to you as a belief remains with you. And as I said earlier, drishti srishtihi, whatever you believe, you start attracting and creating those things. That's the first thing I would say. And second, another very important thing, Chandra, is that ideally what you want to receive in life. Whatever you have, you are like human beings have a particular quality in them, which is very beautiful. Actually, it's a stunning quality. It's like you are a magnet which attracts iron, which attracts things. And whatever you have in your life, whether you know it or not, the truth is that you are actually ready to receive only that in life.
And that's very true. I know from my own personal experience, I've had a lot of deaths very early in my life. And so, having kind of a close relationship has always been scary for me. So I always got into the specific relationship that would break up. So I'd have that same response over and over again. So, we would go and there'd be the type of, man that, would be very for short term. And then it would be confirming for me, right? Well, see, that's kind of the way the relationships are, but it kind of that was the thing that I was attracting
Yes.
at all times. And so, and you can see that, like, even with going like through work, and you're getting the same type of boss, or you're getting the same, thing with your, parents, it's like, I'm ready for it, because, you're actually attracting, if you have anger, you're kind of attracting kind of that anger. So it's kind of that law of attraction, I guess, that starts to happen.
Yes, and one very sad thing, Chandra, is that human beings, unfortunately, have this very powerful explosive in them, which can do anything they want, which can get them anything they want, and that is the energy that we are. If you see, human beings are the most intelligent species on planet Earth, because we have the energy and the intelligence to use the energy to attract and get whatever we want. Unfortunately, we also have the unconscious part of the mind, a mind which is majorly unconscious or unaware of what it is asking, what it's thinking. You are not aware of what's happening inside you. We often dwell more on what we do not want to have. For example, your situation where you have probably a messy relationship, where you do not want a particular thing, you keep reiterating to yourself, saying that this is what I do not want to have. I don't think I want to get into that mess again. I don't want to go back to this particular situation again. I want to run away from this. And what's happening is this: the more and more you're looking at what you don't want to have, the more and more of your energy is getting invested there. And the more and more that becomes your reality.
And that's just so true.
And if you look at the other side of the thing, if you just have a basic shift where you are and just look at what is it that I want to receive. This is what I am receiving right now. What I am going to receive is that love. What I am going to receive is that compassion. What I am going to receive is that abundance. When you start concentrating and looking at more and more of that, meaning when your conversations happen in that direction, you will just see that magically life transforms around you.
And that is so true. We did, even some experience from, when my counseling and masters, and, so we had kind of a negative feeling that day. And, it was kind of like, it was a bit anger, and it was just like, that, everything is just bad around us. And it was amazing to watch that it was attracting all of these people that were like angry, or that they were, upset with life. And, all of a sudden you could even see the change within and it was just an experiment, we knew it was, but within like even an afternoon, like of just how that whole mental setup had started to track in and take within ourselves.
Yes.
So it's kind of realizing that it's not something that's made, we attract it. And I think that's
True.
Something that's really hard, and appreciate that, to make a change, that you may be used to and comfortable, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe not consciously,
Yes.
but subconsciously you're kind of attracted to that because you're kind of been used to that for so many years.
Absolutely.
So what do you think is some steps of being able to get out of that?
So yes, one, I would say that whenever you think there is something unpleasant happening with you in life, whenever you think you're not okay with things in life, really the first step is to look at it and not run away from it, to accept it and not resist it. And direct steps for doing this is either speak it out while it is happening, open your heart out and speak to the person, which most often we do, but unfortunately you don't do it intensely and completely, so it remains within you. And even if it remains, look if you can share it with someone so that you completely come out of it. Even if that doesn't work, write it down and read it again and again and again till you feel that, the grip of that particular incident or that emotion is not there anymore with you. That's the first thing you can do as a technique of coming out of something which is not that pleasant for you. Number one. Number two, understand that the fuel that we have inside us, the most powerful tool that we have inside us is the energy that we have. When I say energy in terms of your inner chattering, which is the words that happen within you, your internal conversation that you have, as well as your external conversations. Watch your conversations as you're having them inside and outside. And remember, whatever conversation you put your energy on, that becomes your reality. So therefore, that leaves you with a choice. You can either choose to continually complain and speak about what you don't want to have in life, meaning you can invest your energy inside and outside, saying that this is not what I would like to have. I don't think I like this situation. I really want to run away from this. You can continue putting your energy in that direction, and then you will keep on having the same kind of situations occurring to you where that conversation continues. Because life is out there to give whatever your energy is attracting from life. That's one thing. Or you can actually choose to have conversations of what you really are looking out to have as an experience. By starting with the conversation saying that I am receiving abundance in life. I am receiving so much of joy in life. And remember, even in the worst situation, you will have an opportunity to feel gratitude. Even in the worst situations, you can be happy that you're still alive. You can be happy that you're still breathing. You can be happy that you had your food that night. Or there are tons of things you can actually think about and express gratitude. And the beauty of that is your energy is completely directed to a direction where you're receiving gratitude as well. Just because you're expressing gratitude. So put simply, whenever you are expressing complaints in life, you will receive more and more complaints. Or you will receive more and more situations or people. You will attract those kind of situations and people which will let you go back to the complaining mode. On the contrary, the more and more you express gratitude, the more and more you express bliss, you will see that life transforms magically, where it will give you situations, you will attract people, you will attract incidents which can reiterate that gratitude in you more. Meaning you will receive more of abundance, which will let you express more gratitude in turn.
And that truly works. Just loving Swamiji has a meditation and is living enlightenment of the gratitude, and seeing the changes in young people of just that. Just remembering and every morning and every night, of having gratitude.
Yes.
And even just sitting, as you had said, just feeling, if you're feeling not worthy, then feel worthy and feel that within your whole body as you're breathing, like in and out is worthy. And at first it feels like uncomfortable because you're so used to, let's say, if you're not feeling worthy, but it starts to change, and it changes like your own.
Yeah, and I have something to add in this regard, Chandra. One very simple but yet very powerful technique that you can do whenever you think you're pushed to a corner in life is literally look at only one question. And I request all of you to note down this question. Write it down at all places that you can read the question at all times. Do I want myself to be in a vicious circle? Vicious circle, which is like a poisonous circle, or do I want to be in a virtuous circle? Remember, your vicious circle is when you are expressing complaints, when you are choosing to give life to your complaints, and then you receive more and more of that from life. Virtuous circle is when you choose to look at the good things that are happening also in life. Virtuous circle is when you choose to express gratitude for what you already have and what you're continuing to have in life, so that will attract more and more things which will put you into the beautiful expression of gratitude. So just ask yourself, do I want the vicious circle, or do I want the virtuous circle? And you have a choice. You can choose. That's the first thing. And the second thing, I understand there may be many situations where it's difficult, especially when physically somebody is out there to abuse you, or you really had a very tough day. I know it's difficult, but still, even there you have a choice. You can choose either to be in that vicious circle where it's a complaint leading to a complaint leading to another, or consciously bring yourself back to the virtuous circle, saying at this point in time, in this particular situation, what are the 3 things I can still have gratitude for? And when you look at that, you will see the shift happen in you. And another very powerful method which really works is when you choose to forgive and forget. Forgive the situation, forgive life, forgive the other person, forgive yourself for whatever is not working for you, for whatever wrong has happened. You can choose. It's a choice that you can make. You can choose to forgive and forget, not because the other person is right, not because you admit that you are a victim, but because it puts you into the power of who you can be. And you just choose to be powerful. You just choose to be happy. And if you can use forgiveness as a tool, use it. Just forgive the situation, forget the situation, and move on from the vicious circle to the virtuous circle.
Because really it's about living in the past when you get into that vicious circle.
Yes.
And keeping that alive when
Yes.
really you're in the present. And
Yes.
that becomes an illusion.
Yes.
And so it's learning that to, again, forgive and forget, and be able to stay in the present. Because now this is what we have now.
Yes.
And the only thing that we can have is our power within ourselves.
Yes.
We can't control other people with that. I mean, we can, with the energy that's coming out, we attract then, that piece of, bliss. But at the end of the day, we're the ones that have the power within ourselves. So we have today, and so today is how you can start to make changes in your life.
Absolutely.
And, it takes practice. And,
It does.
I, worked with kids on, working on the mirror, saying, starting to learn how to talk, role play with people, start. Just like I said, and it may feel really uncomfortable at first, but when you're starting to kind of make those, changes of feeling blissful, you'll start to feel that energy and that whole prana and the gratitude starting to come through you. And, you have to pick the right people, for role playing, because, I can appreciate, especially for young people, young people can kind of turn. And so, be careful on who you're picking, for when you're kind of trying to make
Yes.
these changes. But it really does work. And
Definitely.
you can start to see, from the mirror, you can start to see your expressions and how things are, because body language is huge, and like we were talking, I think earlier, a lot of times they're slumped or the eyes down, that's kind of where it's kind of submissive, and so a lot of times, that energy is kind of pulled in, that, that specific things can be said to you that can be very negative. So you can really start to notice kind of the differences.
Yes, actually this brings up a very beautiful, another small technique that you can do, because you actually said it. If you can somehow be aware when you are in your low and depressive mood, probably you're crying or you're fretting or you just want to fight with someone and you're completely gripped by the emotion, if you can somehow click a photograph of yourself, have either somebody click it for you or you click it, and take a photograph of yourself when you are at your happiest best. Literally you're bursting with the emotion of joy and happiness, and you just are overflowing with that. If you have a photograph clicked and you have this put across you at all times, it just comes pat on your face. Both the vicious circle and the virtuous circle are right there. And as you rightly said, Chandra, it is true that whenever you choose to complain in life, whenever you choose to go back into situations and incidents and people who hurt you or who've not done good to you, you're literally living in the past. And remember, past is dead. Where we are, unfortunately, we carry the past every moment, and therefore we see the present is also dead. It's like a dead leaf. It doesn't have the greenery of a new, fresh, alive leaf. So literally remember that this is the past. When you click the photograph and put it there, just write past on that. And it's past, it's dead.
Yep. It's complete.
And when you see the other side of the photograph where you're happy and where you're radiating the joy, and when you remind yourself that now I am in the virtuous circle, as you rightly said, in the present moment, what are the 3 things right now I can just express gratitude for? And you'll get so much. Immediately you will see who you're being, which is that experientially what you're being will just shift.
And I used to call it, we used to call a blissful box or a gratitude box, because at times, when you've kind of been in that vicious cycle and sometimes you get into that depressive mood, sometimes it's hard to be thinking of maybe 3 things that you're gratitude for. So we made a box at the time of just things that, made us laugh, happy pictures, things that just warm our heart. And, you can see the change after just opening this box and being able to then let it flow. So there's lots of things that you can think of that are being creative, and just have some fun with it as well, that you can have that just kind of assist you to get kind of out of that, so that you can start into a whole different life and to be staying kind of in the present.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you very much, and so I appreciate very much for you to come, and and I hope that you enjoyed our second part. And what we're hoping to do is get Mama Nisha back, and maybe having her twice a month, just kind of continuing on the different talks of communication. And please, thank you very much for writing in. It really helped that we had these really strong responses to say, wait a minute, this isn't my fault, or this isn't part of me. This is somebody else that's doing something to me that's making me feel this. So it's some things that help us make our show and be able that we can talk to you. Again, we know that from stats that a lot of young people don't have anyone to answer these questions, and so that's why we started it. And again, so unique of being guided by our enlightened master. And
yes.
so thank you for joining us, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.